pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spenser.
I'm the bad guy.
And I'm the multi-continental champion.
And today, we are coming to you from March 20th, 1994. It's Madison Square Garden from New York, New York. WrestleMania 10, a ladder match for the undisputed Intercontinental Championship. It's the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, versus the bad guy.
Are you sure we're not in New York, New Jersey?
Razor Ramon.
This is not WrestleMania 29 or WrestleMania 35.
What state are we in?
New York, New Jersey.
We are at, was it Lexington? 34th. I know that. I forget what the intersection is, though.
Guys, we are here. Match number 80, our final match of Season 4. Obviously, we will have our Season 4 finale coming up next for you guys. It's been a hell of a season, and we can't wait to recap it and talk about all the things that we've done so far this season. And, of course, get your input on how we've ranked things.
That's what I can't wait for, because I don't know. Some of these, it has been the absolute hardest season to rank anything this season.
No, just the last, 4 episodes.
Yeah, well,
the other 15 were fine.
As well, we knew as this list went along, it was going to get tougher, right?
Yeah.
And here we are. This is going to be the 80th time we rank a match, and we have to rank it against 79 of the greatest matches we've ever seen, right? So this was never going to be easy, but it's something that we've loved to do, and we can't wait to get your feedback. So what's going to happen here, guys, and if you've been along for the ride long enough by now, you know that we love to hear your feedback at the end of our season for our season finales. And so the way we're going to do it at the end of Season 4 here is we're going to post a Google Doc, right? It's going to be a Google form, which is one of those where it'll basically be a survey. And you get to go in and you get to tell us the matches from this season that you think we should have ranked higher, should have ranked lower, where you would have put them. Give us more match suggestions as we move on to Season 5. So it'll be great to hear that from you, and you'll be able to find that on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our Patreon. Our Facebook and Twitter, of course, is at Last Match Cast. You can also email us if you have any thoughts on our Season 4 as a whole, which you can do at lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. So plenty of time for you guys to interact with us and let us know, because as we've seen on our previous season finales, oftentimes the way you guys feel about our rankings could potentially impact and maybe see some changes on our overall rankings on our Season 4 finale, which will be our next main feed episode.
Something has changed every time we've done a finale.
Yes. But, Spencer, how fitting is it that we were discussing a survey when Scott Hall was famous for going out on Monday nights and asking a survey for what kind of town are we in? Are we in a WCW town? Or are we in an NWO town?
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that a lot. A couple of things coming off. If you remember our last episode 79, was our Four Pillars tag team match.
Kings
A long time
Road.
coming. A long time coming. And we had a couple of really cool Twitter interactions from it. The first of which is from Lord Johnny Mort on Twitter. Buddy,
Ooh, another Lord.
He said that he's been listening to us along with a gaggle of other podcasts.
What a word.
And
How many geese are in a gaggle? Is it 7?
Yeah, how many geese in a gaggle?
I think it's 7.
But Lord Johnny Mort, thank you for reaching out to us. We hope you're doing well, my friend, and thank you so much for listening along. We hope you're enjoying it.
Always good to hear from a fellow Lord.
Yes. Also, in addition, we heard from Review the World at RTW Brian, and he said, at Last Match Cast, recently discovered show, really enjoying it, but my friends, it's time for a Corrections Corner.
Hey.
Oh, here we go.
And we do this at the
Every
jump of
single time.
every episode. And RTW Brian says, one correction from the Kawasaki Mizawa episode. He said, I drove 18-plus hours round trip to see Mizawa's first U.S. match in Philly for ROH, an amazing show. So he has wrestled in America.
Excellent.
How about
Excellent.
that? That's really good stuff.
I love that. And I would absolutely drive 18 hours. I would drive 26 hours,
Yeah.
however many hours it took. Gosh, what an incredible, incredible performer.
Well, we drove 17 hours to meet Kane, so I mean...
we did. We did do that. Among other things.
Yeah,
But that was
let's be clear
one
here.
of the reasons.
So,
we met like 25 other wrestlers.
Right. We love hearing from you guys, whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram as well. Because we get Instagram messages pretty regularly, and I love being able to respond to those as well. And we also like reading your reviews and things
Yes.
on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, all those
We
things.
read them, and we take all the criticism, both positive and negative, to heart, and we have actually changed a few things.
Yeah. We love feedback, and we want to make this show as good for you guys as it is for us. We have a great time. Cannot believe we are 80 episodes in.
And I
now.
think, have we hit the 3-year mark?
Yeah. Well,
Somewhere around in
we're
there?
like
It was-
2 months shy.
Yeah, I think what was it?
May
April?
29th.
May of 2019.
Well, May
so,
29th when we released the first episode. I don't know when we actually recorded that.
So almost 3 years.
Insane.
Man.
Insane.
It's crazy.
But all good things. All good things.
All the best things.
And the best is yet to come.
Oh, for sure.
Today, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon.
For the first time ever at WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen, a ladder match for the Undisputed Intercontinental Championship.
God, guys, since we started this show, we've asked ourselves time and again, what constitutes the greatest wrestling match of all time? Is it the spectacle, memorability? Is it legacy? How big of a stage is it on? Did it inspire generations to come? Was it innovative? Very few matches that we have covered checks each and every single one of these boxes with a big fat check mark.
Yeah, everything you just said, like, yes.
But
counting along, like, yes, all those things.
The instant Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels were able to put together, it's an instant classic at WrestleMania 10. It's absolutely checks each and every one of these boxes and more.
This match inspired an entire generation of wrestlers, including two people called Matthew and Jeffrey Nero Hardy, I might add. They've said many times that this is the match that made them want to be professional wrestlers.
It's really mind-boggling stuff. Like this is, like you said, Landon, has everything you could possibly want. In terms of our list, this is Shawn Michaels, entry number 9.
Oh,
It's only his 7th singles match.
Yeah, well, there's a Survivor Series and a Rumble in there as well. But entry number 9 for Shawn Michaels, and it's hard to argue against any of them being on the list, and it's hard to argue that there might not be more to come as we continue down the line. But we are so grateful here and now for the first time to put Scott Hall, Razor Ramon on the list.
Oh, yeah.
long time coming. I mean, what a phenomenal performer. And in just a minute, I have the honor of going into a little bit of a deep dive retrospective into the career of Scott Hall and the man that he was. Obviously, we have Scott Hall. We lost him the week of this recording. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't think of one of a more deserving match or a deserving person to be on the list of one of the greatest performers in the history and had one of the greatest matches in the history and absolutely shaped the sport of pro wrestling in many ways, more ways than we have time to talk about in one episode of this podcast that we do.
When you think about great matches, right, you think Shawn Michaels, you think some of the guys on our list, but when you think about the people that fundamentally change the business of professional wrestling from its core, Scott Hall is absolutely on that list.
Yeah, he made it cool to be a bad guy. He was the first, like, this guy's so cool, I don't care if he's a villain, I like him. And pretty much a few months before this, he became like one of the top baby faces because everybody loved him because he was so fucking cool.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
He was a genius when it came to character. Character work, and he had so many incredible ideas, but they weren't just ideas. He was able to fight for them backstage, get them to become a reality, and then absolutely knock them out of the park on television.
My favorite story of his is talking about his big debut on Raw. So he's backstage, and then Vince had told him, "Oh, make him wait for it. You're a star." So his music hits, and then the producer's like, "You go out there." I said, "Oh, no, I'm making him wait. I'm going to make him really wait." And he does. He waits a good 30 seconds before he even steps out of the curtain. Like, you're going to wait for this guy because he's a big fucking deal. And by the way, he's talking about how he's going to beat Bret Hart for his title at the Royal Rumble.
One of the things that I did in preparation for this match, which, by the way, I'm so glad it's the last match of season 4 for us. It just feels very fitting, right?
It does.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did was watch, you know how WWE has done some of these playbacks, like watch-alongs of old matches with the people in the matches? You know, there's a Trish Lita one. There's one from 3 years ago with Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall rewatching this match.
They broke it down.
They break it down. And one of the things that they said that I thought was really interesting, and I'll have a couple of tidbits here as we go along, but one of the things that they said was they had this ladder match on the road before. And this was the time when you could do that. And they were sort of like your rehearsals, your practice runs for the big shows.
Yeah, I'd heard they had like 12 different ladder matches to prepare for it.
Well, they had done quite a few. And they're testing out different spots, different ways to use the ladder or whatever, culminating in this WrestleMania 10 match, which is so interesting. But that could never happen now.
No.
That could never happen
and we
now.
talked about them doing this in the past. As NWA WCW did this with the big, I don't know why.
War Games.
War Games.
There was like 7 War Games matches before
yeah, I know what it looks
one.
like, but what's it called? The War Games match, the same deal, So it's a dispute. Which one was the first War Games match, right? Are we talking about
the first
televised
televised
We've talked about that before.
But this is only the second ladder match in televised WWF history. The other, of course, being Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart.
Yeah, but that wasn't like released on video until like 6 months after this match.
Right. Nobody really knew about it.
Yeah, it's on like an anthology
tape. This one
tape.
gets cited as the first ladder match for a long time. It was considered to be.
Yeah, so the one you're talking about, that was a Bret Hart had pitched the idea.
Yeah.
Because it was during this feud with Owen. Like, oh, me and Owen get this great ladder match. What's a ladder match? Oh, well, you have a match with a ladder. All right, well, they booked the match with Shawn because, like, well, Shawn can pretty much do anything. And they're like, this is great. All right, we're going to keep Shawn and we're going to place you. No, it was like the idea was his rivalry with Owen had gotten so personal. It was like, all right, well, you guys are going to go do that, but we're going to have this ladder match for Shawn and Razor.
And this is our second WrestleMania 10 match to make our list of the greatest of all time. The other one, of course, being Bret and Owen.
I feel like this is only the second time we've done a match, like 2 matches from one card. I think
I'm gonna have to look through that.
Well, I know we've done 2 matches from Heatwave. I can't think of another show where we've done 2 matches from.
Well, have we done a ladder match before? Just a straight up ladder match?
We've done a TLC match.
TLC, but never just a ladder match.
So this will be just the first ladder match to make it on the list. Well, that's not true. Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker was a ladder match for the
true.
WWE Championship.
It sure was.
But that's like almost 10 years later.
True. Yeah. Oh, and that match would have never happened if it weren't for WrestleMania 10.
Of course not.
So
just incredible stuff.
We do have to discuss that ladder matches have been happening in Canada for, at this point, probably around 10, 15 years. They're nothing like this, though.
Well, and Japan. There were actually some ladder matches going on in Japan, and so it's actually widely debated where the ladder match is actually originated.
Brett is claimed that it started in Calgary.
Exactly, but there are some folks that claim that,
But here's the thing, though. You didn't trade tapes back in the 70s. So he was aware because they did them in Calgary in the 70s and the 80s.
It's interesting. If you have more information about the origin of the ladder match, please add us, because I would love to sort of break that down and figure out exactly where those origins came
but even by his admission,
but
they were nothing like the ones you see here and on.
That's again
Exactly.
at Last Match Cast on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
Please.
And I'm going off of what Brett said. He could be wrong.
Right. Scott Oliver Hall was born in St. Mary's County, Maryland on October 20th, 1958. He grew up in a military family, attending high school in Munich, Germany, and moving pretty much once every single year until he was at the age of 15. So he was already sort of used to this life of a pro wrestler, right? He's constantly moving around, never staying stationary for too long. This next story coming up is actually something that I had never heard prior to doing research for this episode. But before getting into wrestling, Scott Hall worked as a security guard, bouncer, sort of, for clubs and bars. And one night, he got into an altercation. I see Paul knows what I'm talking about.
Story.
He got into an altercation with a rowdy patron and ended up shooting a man in self-defense.
Yeah.
And the man
The
died.
guy pulled a gun on him, and he was able to get the gun away from him, but it went off in his hand.
Right. I mean, obviously, just one of the most difficult things you could ever have to deal with in life mentally. And his closest friends have confirmed that he battled with this his entire life.
He did. He was never even diagnosed with having PTSD until 2012.
Unbelievable.
So he fought with this for 30 years before he got help for it.
Unbelievable. I mean, what an incredible heart this man had. I mean, I hate that he had this weighing on him for so long, and it absolutely affected his career.
Well, I was going to say, I mean,
But
he cited it
despite
as
that, despite that, to go on, live his dream, and create some of the most legendary moments in pro wrestling history along the way.
I was going to say, he cited that event is what led to his darker days, his spirals.
And understandably so.
Right.
But one thing I do want to point out is, even in his worst times, people always had the nicest things to say about him.
And that's what I was going to say too. And it's one of those things that when something like this happens, you get the outpour of support, and sometimes you learn a lot about how someone was received, right? And there has just been nothing but positive notes about Scott Hall.
Yeah.
And they've said it over and over again, is despite all the time on the road, despite the ups and downs, always a friend. Like Scott Hall, always.
And a classic ribber.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise. I mean, how could that possibly surprise you?
This wasn't intentional, but I did meet both him. I met Scott and I met Shawn Waltman at a wrestling convention in 2014, and this was not intentional. But the past week or so, Shawn Waltman's Twitter keeps popping up.
Yeah,
it keeps popping up, and the stories he's telling, and I'm like, are just like the funniest stories ever. There's some of them are a little too spicy for our show, but they're funny. But stuff that
go
Scott
follow
would do.
Shawn Waltman on Twitter.
Oh yeah, and Shawn Waltman, not Michaels, always cited Scott as the guy that never ever turned his back on him.
Sure,
because we all know that Shawn has had some serious problems with mental health and with substances, but Scott Hall was always there by his side. And I actually didn't know this until recently. I actually have a personal connection to Scott. I didn't know this. A very good friend of Jen's mother, who's become a pretty decent friend of mine, when I posted about this on my social media, she actually reached out to me and said that she'd actually took care of Scott a few years ago. He was having heart issues, and she was his caregiver, and she was actually able to help him save him from having a heart attack.
Wow.
And she told a story that there was a patient in the hospital that was being very violent and belligerent and aggressive, and Scott was like, shut that down and protected her, made sure she was okay.
Wow.
And she's like, so she was saying, I only knew him for a brief period of time, but he was very warm and kind. And I'm about to start crying. Oh God. And she was just like, wherever he is, wherever his family is, I miss you, Scott, and I love you.
How incredible.
I read that and I started crying. I'm like, man, I met him once at a con,
incredible.
and we had a very short exchange. He was very, very nice, and he was very patient because I could not articulate words when I met him. Mm-hmm. But I get the impression he was used to that. And he was like, hey, bro, let's get a picture. Because I could tell he was like, okay, kid, you clearly want to ask me something.
One of my favorite things when I was watching the playback with him and Shawn was, Scott Hall says, there are two iconic pictures from this match. And one of them is me with the titles at the end. And the other is Shawn jumping off the ladder to splash me. And he's like, I've made a living after wrestling getting paid to sign autographs of these pictures. And I just have to tell people, I won that match.
Well, my favorite thing is there's the famous 8x10 of holding both belts up.
Yeah.
But, like, when you watch the show, where's that picture? Oh, that's actually from one of the actual photographers.
Yeah.
There's no good shot of him holding both belts because
No,
Earl
I think
fucking
there
Hebner stands on the ladder and points up to him.
Oh, I got you.
God damn it, Earl.
God, Scott Hall.
He just had the hot dog.
Scott Hall began his wrestling career in 1984 in the NWA Championship Wrestling from Florida alongside Dan Spivey,
Golden Boy.
a.k.a.
The Golden. Oh, God, Waylon Mercy.
Waylon Mercy.
I was going to say Golden Boy Dan Spivey, one of the two towers along with Sid and then
That's
the
true.
Undertaker.
That's true, yeah. Where they trained together under Dusty Rhodes, Mike Rotunda, and Barry Windham.
That's a good training.
What a graduation class. They debuted in Charlotte, North Carolina as American Starship. Hall under the ring name Starship Coyote, and Spivey under the ring name Starship Eagle.
Oh, it's so bad.
And man, if you haven't seen tape of early Scott Hall.
Oh, God, he's got like a bleach blonde Jerry curl and his giant Magnum PI mustache.
Please go look this
it's
up for the
worst.
mustache alone.
It's like the worst look ever. But
He looked like seriously, he looked like a 300-pound Rick Rude.
he basically was.
Or Tom Selleck. He really, really looked like Tom
Look,
Selleck.
Tom Selleck was really popular in the 80s.
And literally, that's what he looked like. Finding little success as a team, though, Hall joined the American Wrestling Association on his own in 1985, where he wrestled as Magnum Scott Hall.
Yep.
I wonder why.
Because he looked like him.
And later, he was actually called Big Scott Hall.
Oh, guess his tag team partner was Kurt Hennig.
Kurt Hennig. Sure was.
how about
Sure was.
So it's been immortalized in the Wrestle Rock Rumble. Because they rap.
The Wrestle Rock Rumble?
Oh, yeah. I
Do
went
we
there.
know any of that song, Paul?
I actually don't remember their part, but I've done the Larry Zbyszko part so many times in this show.
I think I've forgotten it. I think I might need it just
Oh,
because I can't
God.
I
remember.
need it again. Wait a minute.
This is Larry Zbyszko. I can't do it.
Can't do
no.
it. Can't do it.
No. If I ever meet Larry, he's probably going to beat me up.
AWA promoter Vern Gagne saw Scott Hall as the next Hulk Hogan and wanted to build him as such, even going so far as to having Scott challenge Stan Hansen for the AWA title. But Hall got a sense that AWA was on its last leg and decided to leave the sinking ship for greener pastures. Yep. And he did that in 1989. But somewhere in there, he did receive 2 WWF tryouts, one in 87 and one in 1990. He was not signed.
I'm shocked they didn't sign him.
In the meantime, Hall would work several shows for New Japan Pro Wrestling in the late 80s before being recruited by Jim Ross to join the NWA's World Championship Wrestling as part of an initiative to bring in sort of some younger stars.
Oh, yeah, because he was very young.
And some other folks to be brought in to WCW at that time. How about Brian Pillman?
Yep.
How about
Cannon.
Sid Vicious?
Oh, the master and ruler of the universe.
I love this. Scott Hall made his debut on the June 3rd edition of World Championship Wrestling in that year in a vignette that showed Scott Gator Hall swimming.
So he's been a coyote, a gator. He's about to be a razor. It's so good.
And he's swimming and playing volleyball on a beach, riding boats, fishing, and scaring alligators. You tell me how that works.
Okay, so somebody clearly saw. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. when did Skinner debut?
Oh,
Because I'm like, okay, which gimmick came first? Because the other one was clearly making fun of it.
well, and Scott Hall debuted on WCW television July 9th, 1989, in a losing effort to the Great Muta.
Ooh.
Wow.
Hall spent the early 90s wrestling across Japan, Germany, and Puerto Rico, where he won the WWC Caribbean Heavyweight Championship.
I did not know that.
Skinner debuted in the summer of 1991.
Okay, so Skinner was clearly
Scott
making fun
came
of
first.
So Skinner was clearly, hey, there's
Scott
this guy,
Gator Hall.
There's this guy called the Gator at WCW. Let's make fun of him.
He did end up returning to WCW after a brief hiatus. He returned in 1991 as the Diamond Stud.
Oh, okay. I love this story.
Yeah.
So everybody knew him as like the bleached blonde hair with a giant mustache. When he came back as the Diamond Stud, he had dyed his hair black and he had like shaved the mustache and he had the stubble. Nobody recognized him.
Right. Because he did. He looked completely different.
He had put on more mass. He looked like a completely different guy. So he was his manager was DDP because he was his Diamond Stud. Mm-hmm. And wow,
It was the return of the Diamond Mine.
Yeah. So I love how when I said Diamond Stud, I sort of did an impression of DDP there. I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, let me turn that
back. The story
back.
I told was nobody knew who he was. Because he never went by he went by Scott Gator Hall, but like, oh, that's just a ring name. He's the Diamond Stud. People did not realize that was Scott Hall until he'd been doing it for like a few weeks.
I loved it. An injury, however, slowed his momentum going into Starrcade 1991. And after a brief return program with Dustin Rhodes in April of 1992,
The Natural.
Hall left WCW for the World Wrestling Federation. As many of you surely know, Hall pitched the idea of Razor Ramon as a character to Vince, and he was like, yeah, he'd just seen the movie Scarface. He was like, yeah, I'll do like a Tony Montana kind of deal. Vince had never seen the movie.
Nope. Well, Vince spends so much time working. I don't think he's ever seen a movie ever.
That's a funny bit.
It's like man works like 100 hours a week. He doesn't have time to watch
has
movies.
never seen a movie ever.
I'm convinced he's not seen a movie since he joined the company.
Okay, wait. Here it is. Paul, I need you to do a Vince impression. But I just walked up to you and said, hey, Vince, have you seen Star Wars?
Star Wars. You mean Star Trek with William Shatner? Yeah, I've seen it.
I like how I'm like old man Vince, not young Vince.
With William Shatner.
William Shatner. Yeah, we got him on.
We got him on Monday Night Raw. It's William Shatner from Star Wars. That's Star Trek. From Star Trek. Unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
Done 3 different versions of Vince in the span of 2 seconds.
That's Swerve from Star Wars to Star Trek. What a maneuver!
Oh, God.
Alas, Scott Hall perfected the character of a Razor Ramon, and magic was made.
Mm-hmm. The fucking vignettes
I just loved it.
It's the best.
Vince and Patterson actually wanted to give Hall just the name Razor. There's like, you're going to be Razor. But Hall was like,
I need a name.
Like, I don't want to be an adjective or, an object. Like,
when I was a kid, I thought his first name was Razor.
Right?
His name was Ramon. Like, oh, no, his name is Ramon.
His name is Ramon.
But he's the Razor.
But do you know where he got the name Ramon?
Ramon? Ooh. He's like the band The Ramones?
So Hall was trying to find a name for himself. He actually reached out to Tito Santana for a Latin-sounding name because he knew he was going to be this sort of Cuban character.
Yeah.
And so he said I want it to be an R name, but I want it to be a Latino-sounding name. And Santana suggested Ramon, and Hall sold it to McMahon, and the name stuck.
It's a good name.
Razor is one of the most memorable characters in the WWF New Generation, quickly gaining popularity with the fans. He had a killer new move in the Razor's Edge. Mm-hmm. And as Paul mentioned, the vignettes
They're amazing.
Were they're unforgettable. And in his debut match on Raw, August 8th, 1992, which, by the way, is the day that Hope was born.
Shut up.
He defeated Paul Van Dale. Any guesses of who Paul Van Dale is?
A jobber.
Most likely, yes, but he's also Carmella's father.
You're fucking kidding
the
me.
hell up.
Scott Hall defeated Carmella's father in his debut on Monday Night Raw.
Who the fuck knew that?
I didn't know her dad was a
Now
wrestler.
you know that. Hey, you get some quality trivia on Last Match Standing. I'm just telling you. There was so much to love about Razor Ramon. One of my favorites was the large gold chain that the necklace.
Soon I have gold around my neck, but soon the bad guy is going to have gold around my waist.
Love it. The best part is he would take it off when he got to the ring and he'd hand it to the attendant on the outside and
Something
he'd say,
happened to this gold, man? Something happened to you.
every time, and then he would flick the
Toothpick.
at him. Just so incredible, great stuff. And then the one long curl that would fall on
the
his
spit
forehead.
curl.
Incredible.
That was his look literally till the end of his days.
It's a phenomenal look. He nailed his character. The first major angle Razor was involved in came after he attacked Randy Savage after a match with Ric Flair. We touched on this briefly in the Perfect versus Flair match from episode 76. Savage and Warrior were booked to take on Flair and Razor, but Warrior exited the company and was replaced by Mr. Perfect. Razor later stepped in for Warrior during a WWF Championship match against Bret Hart. And at WrestleMania 9, he rolled up Bob Backlund for a win in his WrestleMania debut. Just insane exposure in a very, very short amount of time. And Scott made the most of it. Every single time he stepped out of that curtain, he made the most of every opportunity that was given to him.
Because he's smart.
And now, May 17th, 1993, Monday Night Raw. Razor Ramon is booked in a one-on-one match against a random jobber called The Kid. Everyone knows what's going to happen here, right? Razor's going to go in there. He's going to mess around a little bit, throw this kid around the ring, hit the Razor's edge, and pin the kid 1, 2, 3, right? Wrong.
Kid hits a moonsault out of nowhere.
Razor went out of his way to make Kid look like $1 million and even convinced McMahon and Patterson to give him the roll-up win after the moonsault, and consequently the Kid came to be known as the 1, 2, 3 Kid.
But what I love about that story is Scott lost, but got more popular and became a bigger star for losing. Oh, if you lose to a nobody, then you're a nobody. No, if you make the Kid look like $1 million and then he beats you by a fluke, now you've got a 6-month storyline.
It was just the perfect story, and they actually ended up forming a tag team. And Hall turned face as the Razor Ramon character. They had a return match at King of the Ring that was excellent.
And they built a new star.
They did. And the two showed mutual respect for each other, which was rare at that time. And as a babyface, he was over as all hell. In comes Ted DiBiase, who was not a fan of Razor's new attitude and made fun of him for losing to a guy like a 1, 2, 3 Kid. Oh, who, by the way, Shawn Waltman.
Shawn Waltman. One of the best of all time.
Ramon helped the 1, 2, 3 Kid defeat Ted DiBiase and then later competed against DiBiase himself at SummerSlam, where Ramon defeated DiBiase in DiBiase's final WWF match.
Huh. More trivia.
Now, while all of this was happening, a little guy by the name of Shawn Michaels
Never heard of him.
was in the middle of a legendary Intercontinental Championship run. Unfortunately, in September of 1993, Michaels got hit with a suspension for steroid use, which he denied.
To this day, he's like, his own words were like, I've had a lot of vices in my life, but that wasn't one of them. And he told Vince, I'm taking prescription drugs, man, but I'm not taking steroids.
It was a wellness violation for another reason, sure. I mean, some people say there were other issues going on backstage with him. Even Shawn will admit that, he was kind of in hot water at the time. Whatever the reason, this led to the championship not being defended past the 30-day mark, and subsequently, Michaels vacates the title.
But he didn't send the belt back.
But he didn't. On the October 4th, 1993 episode of Monday Night Raw, they held a 20-man battle royal. And the last two participants would face off the following week on Raw for the vacant WWF Intercontinental Championship. Razor and Rick Martel were the final two.
That was a good match.
And next week on Raw, they had a fantastic match. And Razor Ramon would begin another historic Intercontinental Championship reign. I mean, just an incredible era for the Intercontinental Championship as a whole. Now, during this time, Michaels was actually being heavily recruited by WCW. But, of course, he decided to continue his momentum in the WWF. He had a good thing going, a lot of promises, I'm sure. And thank God he did. I mean, could you imagine a WWF without Shawn Michaels in the early 90s?
No.
What would that even be? Now, I think the most interesting thing that happens here, which Paul has already alluded to, is they did ask Shawn to physically give the belt back. And he didn't. He did not return the belt. So that when he came back and he had the belt in his possession, that was not scripted to happen.
But one of those things where art imitates life. Wait a minute. We've got two guys who claim to be the champion. Let's have a match.
And it was just the happiest accident. And you know, we talk about that, how pro wrestling is at its best when the lines are blurred and things just happen to fall into place. This ladder match literally happened because Shawn was an asshole and refused to give the belt back. What blows my mind...
I wouldn't have sent it back.
Is
You said I wouldn't have sent it back.
Wouldn't have sent it back.
Well, neither did Ric Flair, remember?
That's right.
That's because the company owed him like $10,000.
True. He was justified.
Yeah, he helped pay for the belt and then never paid him back. He was 100% justified keeping that belt. As far as I'm concerned, he owned it.
He literally owned it. What blows my mind is Shawn and Scott did not have much time to prep for the WrestleMania 10 match as they should have had, or as I would have expected they would have had. The only time they got to prep for the match was to climb the ladder to test the height for the drop down of the apparatus. Now, they had worked this match at house shows, as we've kind of talked about before, but the fact that they didn't actually run through spots with the ladder the day of the show goes to show the confidence and how comfortable they were working together and the professionalism of both of these guys. It just makes for a legendary pair. Gorilla Monsoon, who was extremely old school and hated gimmick matches, called this the greatest match he had ever seen. And there was actually just the last little tidbit of trivia before we move on. There was supposed to be a 10-man match to happen, and we may have discussed this on the last Mania Standing.
I think
we absolutely did.
And there was supposed to be a 10-man match to happen after this. This match went over.
Way over.
And that one was cut as a consequence. But the craziest bit, if you go back and watch WrestleMania 10, is after this match, there is a little backstage segment with one of the heel team arguing over who was going to be the leader.
It's Jeff Jarrett and company.
Yeah,
they're arguing over who's gonna be
Jeff
the captain.
Jeff Jarrett's arguing with like Rick Martel who's going to lead. They can't decide.
And Vince is like, well, I guess they can't decide who the captain of the team is, so I guess we're not going to have a 10-man tag. It's the dumbest excuse.
They have it on Raw the next night, but
oh God.
Yes, that's absolutely what happens. It's great. You should definitely go back and watch it. Our WrestleMania 10 episode on Last Mania Standing, a ton of fun. A ton of fun. We really enjoyed it. That feels like a lifetime ago now.
2 years ago.
Yeah, WrestleMania 10. But it's a WrestleMania, if memory serves me correctly, that is ranked fairly high.
Oh, I think it is. Is it in the top 5 or top 7?
No, it's 2-match show.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you where it lands because you should go listen to Last Mania Standing. We love it and it's a lot of fun and it's a scientific method, can't be argued. The way we score our WrestleManias.
That's true, yeah.
I feel like the Bill Clinton impersonator got a high score.
The impersonator?
I'm sorry. Bill Clinton was actually there.
One of the things that I really, again, from the playback that I watched, is Shawn that I really thought was interesting. Shawn and Scott both say there was one ladder in that match. There was one ladder in that building. He was like, Shawn said, you don't know what you don't know until you need to know it, right? And so they just never thought that something might happen to the ladder and they might need a second one. So
how lucky were they?
Bruce Pritchard claims there was a backup one.
I mean, inevitably, they're in Madison Square Garden. There's ladders, I'm sure.
You would think.
Well,
but,
Bruce Pritchard's exact words were, "We're not WCW. We had a second ladder."
Right. But it's still funny to hear them talk about there was one in the whole building. There was one ladder. But that does, in fact, bring us to March 20th, 1994 from Madison Square Garden. Our ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Earl Hebner, as we've mentioned, is the official.
Oh, yeah.
And on commentary, Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler.
This is one of those matches that I've seen at least a dozen times over, and it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it.
No,
I enjoy it every single time.
And it feels fresh
every time.
Which is really fun. Just as we get going, with the WrestleMania 10 set, the doors open and when they close, the X forms, right, which is really neat. The entrances here tell a story all on their own.
Confidence oozing off of Razor as he
like,
walks under
Shawn
the ladder.
Is like, walking around.
Yeah,
right?
Like, nope.
And then Razor intentionally walks under it. It's great.
It's really, really good. Shawn, of course, being accompanied by Diesel to the ring, and
Diesel.
Yeah, you're wondering how much is he going to play a factor in this match, which obviously we'll get to. But the stage is set. This does end up being the penultimate match of WrestleMania 10 prior to the main event, which, if you recall, is Yokozuna Bret Hart, right?
Yeah.
So this is the it wasn't supposed to be. But it ends up being, of course,
The semi-main.
the semi-main and a show stealer. Make no mistake about it.
Oh, after the match, Macho Man has a word with Scott Hall.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, that was a little selfish, man. Great job, but man.
Before we get a little too far away from Diesel, have you guys ever seen like the vignette, like there's like a post-match where he comes out and he like helps Shawn retain a belt, and they're like, "Who's this man with you?" "This is Diesel, as in diesel fuel, as in that which makes a truck go." It's like, what the fuck?
Diesel.
You were talking, Landon, we're speaking about vignettes, and you were talking about Razor Ramones and how iconic and legendary they are, and you were just like face value describing them as this this sort of this Cuban guy that is sort of not particularly nice, but whatever. I just had very Carlito vibes.
Sure.
Right? If Carlito maybe like a...
I will never forget those vignettes either. Like,
yeah, the, Caribbean spit in the face, the whole thing. And it sort of feels more and more like that was very intentional in terms of Carlito sort of playing that Razor Ramon-esque type character.
I think there was a little bit of that
later.
in there. Sure.
I think it's, just, I don't know. That was a thought I had while you were talking about it. But
Definitely like the way he talked.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I can feel there's a lot of like he's doing a lot of what Scott was doing, because like I've heard Carlito speak before. He doesn't sound like that.
No, he doesn't.
Well, you got to dial everything up
Yeah.
to 11 whenever you're trying to sell a character. Great exchange after the bell here to start the match. These two, I mean, look, that choke slam from Scott Hall.
Beautiful.
Incredible stuff.
Beautiful.
And it's a really interesting sort of moment there, because Shawn's going for this big hip toss. Razor doesn't go, so Shawn pokes him in the eye to try to get him over, and ultimately it doesn't work because he flips around and gets caught.
Well, and Razor has the waist lock, and then Shawn goes under the legs and pulls him down. It's just like these little things where there's like this little bit of one-upsmanship, and you're like, oh, we got a wrestling match in our hands.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I like about it. It's a wrestling match.
It is.
With a ladder, not just a ladder match. And I think that's probably why. I mean, it's the first, like the first, in big quotations. There's an asterisk there. It's the first like televised WWE one. But I think the reason why this one is to the test of time is because they have a wrestling match.
It's incredible.
They don't just have a ladder match. Like the first half of this is just a straight wrestling match.
It is, and it's not what you see now, right? No. In big ladder matches, you see 6, 8, 10-man ladder matches, and it's just about
and I think
the highest spots.
There's like the last couple ladder matches I've seen, like literally there's a Money in the Bank match where every single wrestler grabbed a ladder.
Yeah.
And started a match with a ladder in hand, and I'm
couldn't
like,
be more different.
Could not be more different.
And I'm
so,
like, that's cool, but like,
yeah, it's not to say that we
missing the
don't
point.
enjoy those types of matches, but I feel like this match is possibly, arguably, more complete
Yeah.
Because we do have a mix of both.
I like that.
And we have just psychology here. Shawn using Razor's size against him, and he does this several times throughout the match. He notices that Razor's gaining momentum, running the ropes, tosses him out to the outside. He needs to do that more and more to even out the size disadvantage, so I love to see that.
Well, and it's, the story that we've seen play throughout Shawn's career and we'll continue to see play is I'm going to be quick because you're bigger than me.
Right.
Yeah.
and it's a character and an in-ring style that he's played so successfully.
Well, in addition to that, it's whenever somebody does get his hands on him, he's flying all over the place.
Exactly.
He makes Razor Ramon look like a beast in this match.
Well, Razor is, but
And something that I want to give credit to in this match is the camera work.
Yes.
it's very good.
It's
in this
very,
match.
very
The
good.
production value, it's 1994, right? Production is stellar in this match. One of the really cool shots that they do in the very onset of this match, it's in the first 5 minutes, is there's a cameraman by the ladder, which is in the aisle, and the camera shot starts on the ladder and it pans to the ring, and the cameraman walks up to the ring from the ladder, and so it sort of gives you this perspective.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost perfect until he bumps into Earl Hebner, but
Yep.
it was a really good shot until then. But there were several things that happened. We get the Wile E. Coyote cam, right? That
I fucking love that.
for the first time. Scott Hall loves it, and he says that in the playback because he says it looks like a crime.
Yeah, because they're both laid out and it just goes above them.
So really good camera stuff in this match, and I just think that adds to it. When Shawn does throw Razor out of the ring, like you just said, Landon, Diesel does get himself involved. He throws a clothesline onto Razor Ramon, and you've got to be thinking, if you're a big Razor Ramon fan, here we go. This isn't fair, but also there's no rules, so should have seen this coming. Earl Hebner says, not at WrestleMania 10. We're going to have a one-on-one match, right? And so he throws Diesel out immediately after that clothesline.
And
What?
I
Why didn't you do anything?
yeah, you didn't see me do anything. I loved it.
Well, you just admitted you did something there, Big Kev.
When both men are still on the outside here, Diesel's thrown out, so now it's a one-on-one contest. The focus shifts to we're going to inflict punishment. Razor tries to pull the padding off of the floor from ringside, exposing the concrete on the edge, on the floor there. Tries to get Michaels on it, doesn't work. So they get back in the ring, and Razor Ramon tries to hit a Razor's Edge. He's setting up Shawn for a Razor's Edge, but he gets the big backdrop instead. Michaels reverses it, and Razor lands right on that concrete, which is, the rule in wrestling, right? If you bring it out, you're the one that has to take it. That's how it goes.
But one moment I really enjoy is actually right before that. So Razor whips Shawn to the corner, and he does gets turned inside out, but when he comes back down, Scott's already running and clotheslines him over the top rope before he's even got a chance to recover. And then he does an extra little flare when he hits the outside. I'm like, Shawn is willing to do anything for his friends as far as selling a move.
It's really, really good stuff. The first introduction of the ladder
Oh yeah.
is the baseball slide as Razor's trying to put the ladder into the ring.
And the crowd pops hard for it.
Well, it's the first time they've seen a ladder involved in a wrestling match.
Yeah. And
in all likelihood. And, this one, you just got to eat it. It's ouchies. It's
Right to the ribs.
And I guess pretty much all ladder bumps are that way. I don't know if one they just suck.
Because you can't gimmick the ladder, because then you can't use it as a ladder.
Right. And now there's a target painted on the midsection of Razor Ramon, and Michaels goes to work.
Yeah, he uses that ladder as a weapon 4 times in the matter of 2 or 3 minutes, with shots to the midsection and shots to the back. He actually takes the ladder, throws it over his head onto the back of Scott Hall, and I'm just like, that looks terrible.
Yeah. Then we get my favorite line on commentary. So Vince suggests, Razor might need a new doctor. And then Lawler says, he needs a new doctor. Did you know that Razor Ramon's doctor writes all the prescriptions in spray paint?
In spray paint?
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry the King Lawler.
It's the same man that wanted to see Stu Hart in his orthopedic tuxedo. Or, as Helen tells somebody lies, get her tongue notarized.
after Shawn is able to use the ladder as a weapon, he starts to climb it for the very first time. And the crowd, again, is major reacting to this because, again, they aren't, we've seen ladder matches 100 times now, so we know that first climb up the ladder, nothing's going to happen, right? It's all going to be a matter of somebody pulling him down, however it's going to happen. This crowd doesn't know that. They don't know what to expect. So Michael starts to climb, and it's like, oh, no, like he's going after it to win.
Oh, and then Razor just pulls his pants down.
Yeah, we get the Shawn ass moment, which
unlike the rematch, he's facing away from the hard cam. The rematch, it's facing the hard cam.
Mm-hmm.
Those pants get pulled down.
Yep, the rematch at SummerSlam 95.
Shawn loves to get his ass out, I'm convinced.
I'm shocked that they didn't get in trouble of some kind for that.
It's because it was against the hard cam. Only the fans saw Shawn's
Well, but
ass.
see, here's the deal. He didn't like pull it up real quick.
No,
like,
he doesn't.
He
does
the elbow drop. Bare ass.
The ass out drop, I'm going to call it.
The bare ass elbow.
Then he pulls his chins up.
Just incredible. I mean,
now, I'd like to believe that Scott did not mean to pull his pants down.
Did.
Oh, it was 100%
That
intentional. Get out of here.
At the rematch, he definitely meant to.
No, it was totally intentional. It was totally intentional. Well, and then, during Shawn's entrance, Vince is like, oh, no, because Shawn's all like dancing and being kind of flirty with the women in the crowd. And Vince is like, I can't believe he's doing that. And Jerry's like, but the girls love it.
Just wait.
Yeah, just
And then
just
once
wait.
that happens, it said, oh, Shawn's willing to make a you-know-what of himself tonight, folks.
Yeah, you got to say it.
Yeah,
you got to say it.
You know
right
what?
there.
PG show, guys.
Obviously, there's the incredible moment of the splash.
Oh,
From
the
the top of
flash
the ladder.
bulbs.
The highlight reel moment. The moment that has been you've seen it 1,000 times, and we'll see it 1,000 more.
Anytime they have a build for TLC pay-per-view, they always use a shot of him doing the splash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now Razor sort of switches to the offensive with the ladder.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, okay, I've eaten this thing enough.
I've seen how this is done. Right. And what's interesting is the Shawn Splash is 8 minutes in to this 18-minute match. The way that it's built in your mind is surely that was the big moment of the match, and it's over and Shawn wins. That's
oh
what you
my
think.
God, I get more.
Right, but we get 10
you get
more
like
minutes.
10 more minutes.
We get 10 more minutes, and it's with Razor on the offensive.
Yeah, uses that ladder as a blunt force weapon.
Man.
And Razor gets the ladder set up to the middle of the ring, starts climbing, and now Michaels dives from the top rope to make the save from the ladder.
Oh, yeah. Like dives off, hits him like in the back, and they both just fall.
And
It's
the ladder falls on top of
Shawn's back.
when that happens.
Oh, that was not intentional.
No.
The classic two-sided pro wrestling ladder. I'm convinced it does not exist in the real world. Have you ever seen a two-sided ladder before?
No, it doesn't exist except for in professional wrestling.
A spot I really enjoy is Razor puts the ladder in the corner.
Yeah.
And he Shawn goes for the Irish whip. It gets reversed. So Shawn hits that ladder and just sails over the top rope. I'm like, here we go. That looked like it hurt.
So because we have this incredible invention, the double-sided ladder, both men are able to climb it. Razor Ramon on one side, Shawn Michaels on the other. And Razor Ramon is able to hit a suplex. He suplexes Shawn off, and he tries to stay on, but the ladder falls.
Yeah,
from the momentum.
that's the only like blemish on this match.
No, and I actually don't see it as a blemish at
Not
all.
either.
I think it adds to the intensity of the moment.
Well, I think it works so well because this is the first time.
Yeah.
So when things like that happen, you think, well, they were just trying something. That's the result. That's just what happened.
Well, and what a lot of people credit this match with having that sort of authenticity, and that's why it's
pretty
so
authentic.
excellent.
That happened.
Is that everything that happened is happening for the first time. It's a learning process, and it's just so real and so perfectly executed from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, the ladder becomes a little bit warped, right? It's
because of that.
twisted. Razor sets it up and starts climbing, but although it's a little wobbly, it looks like, he's making it to the top, and he's got his hand on the belts.
And Shawn decides to drop kick the ladder from underneath Scott's legs.
I mean, when you see the ladder is wobbly, and you don't have time to make it all the way up,
Just kick the ladder out
just
from
kick the
underneath?
ladder.
It works.
Genius.
And then
Genius.
Shawn hits a big old pile driver.
The strategy being, right, if Razor's knocked out, well, he can't stop me from climbing up.
And then this is so simple, but I still love it. Shawn closes the ladder up, holds it up right over Scott's back, and then just lets it fall on him.
Yep.
Bam.
Brings the ladder into the corner and rides the momentum down.
Nice little pendulum.
Across Razor's midsection.
Oh, sorry, you're
which
right.
is-
He's on his back.
It's his chest, yeah, which is what Shawn has been working over the whole match.
It's always interesting because Shawn hits a super kick in the same sequence here, like right before the pile driver. And it's no big deal. And it's just,
because it wasn't his
because
finish
it wasn't
yet.
his finish yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And
It's
it is by the time they get to the SummerSlam 95
Oh, yeah, I think
ladder
by
match.
SummerSlam 94, that's his finish.
Because it's a if you haven't seen the SummerSlam 95 ladder match, that one could just as easily go on this list. It's incredible. So do yourself a favor and watch them both.
Yeah, watch them back-to-back, which is what I think WWE wants you to do.
Yeah, they're both good. But it's just really interesting watching this at Mania 10 because the super kick happens, and it's just a move.
Yeah.
But the Razor's Edge is very over as a finisher.
Oh, fans love it.
The
Well,
fans
and then so he
love
sort of hints that he's going to do a Razor's Edge, but I think everybody knew that
but
wasn't
it's a
going to
pile
happen.
driver, right? It's a
It's
pile driver.
You're not. He's too tall. Scott is too tall to do a high-angle powerbomb.
No, his feet would be on the mat. Like,
Right.
So therefore, it'd be easier to do. It's like, I'm just going to grab you, and we're going to go over. Bam. Just jump.
So Shawn rides that ladder on top of Razor Ramon and then sets up the ladder with Razor Ramon underneath it. And, of course, King's like, this is the second time that Razor Ramon's been under the ladder. Double bad luck.
Yep.
That's what he says. Double bad luck. But Razor's able to get up and push Shawn off that ladder.
Yeah, just like kind of shoulder blocks
he
him.
shoulder tackles the ladder,
Uh-huh.
which is already a little rickety.
Yeah, but what I like is that Shawn lands on the top rope and gets caught. His leg gets caught. And at this point, you're like, oh, and then Scott sets the ladder up. Oh, he's climbing, and Shawn's scrambling to get his leg free. He gets his leg free by, pushing it with his arm. And when he rolls over it, then his arm gets caught.
It's
Scott
so wonderful.
He literally frees himself right as Scott is grabbing the belt and just dives and just is too short to stop it.
It just makes sense.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
It really does. There are so many ways this match could have ended. You could have hit the Razor's Edge, and that be it. You could have done a big spot on the outside of the ring, but this was the best possible way.
Because you have Razor Ramon winning the championship, but Shawn Michaels, his foot was caught in the rope.
Yep.
Like, he just couldn't quite get there. It was not his fault. Like, he lost the match, sure, but it wasn't in a way that made him look.
Yeah, he didn't lose because Scott beat him. He was stuck. He was trapped.
Yeah, and so I just thought it was incredible. Especially we live in an age now with ladder matches where, it sort of seems like you get a move done to you, then you roll to the outside, and whatever happens on the inside
Yeah, I
happens
feel like if
because
they
you're
did
down
that,
and out.
if they did this today, people would probably go, "Well, that was fucking stupid," even though it's probably arguably one of the best ways to end a match like this.
It just makes a ton of sense because why can't I reach you to get you off the ladder? Because I physically can't get to you because I'm tied up in the ropes.
Yeah, not because you hit your finish the third time and beat me. No, I was trapped.
So the undisputed Intercontinental Champion coming out of WrestleMania 10 is Razor Ramon.
And as we get into favorite moments, that is my favorite moment. That shot of
Scott
Razor
holding both belts.
holding both belts on top of the ladder.
And Earl Hebner just going, yes, he won the match.
That it's just it will live on forever in the history of professional wrestling.
It absolutely will. Because even if, and we can debate all day on what the first ladder match ever was, the first important ladder match in the grand scheme of professional wrestling is this one right here.
Oh, yeah.
In terms,
Hard to argue.
The first one that had a lasting impact is this one. And, man, I mean, this is just, it's iconic. And you could say the splash is your favorite moment. It's a big moment.
It's hard to not talk about that.
Yeah, it's hard to not talk about the splash. I personally really love. There's a moment in the latter half of the match where Razor and Shawn both fall off the ladder. The ladder is standing up in the middle of the ring underneath the titles. Shawn's down on the left side, Razor's down on the right, and it's just a shot of them, and it's just. It's a great story.
I
Really,
think that
really
should
great
be
stuff.
our match preview card.
It could
It
be.
absolutely will be.
I would argue for Razor holding up the belts, but
That's
there's
true.
so many.
I
There's
I
so
think
many
the crime
photo
scene
op
shot,
moments.
Yeah.
I think the crime scene shots are because you got them both in the frame with the
Could
ladder
be.
and the title. Everything,
Yeah.
everything you need to know is right there.
We'll make a poll on Twitter.
Yeah. What picture do you what's the best image to come out?
I know what I'm voting for.
Yeah.
Meltzer gave the match 5 stars.
Well, the word of
It's
God.
the first 5-star match in WWF/E history.
Pritchard
Is that true?
Yep.
Pritchard
First
gave
one.
it 10 out of 5.
Well, of course he would.
But
He loves Shawn Michaels.
where does it rank? Out of 80 matches that we've covered so far
Okay, well,
across 4 seasons of this show.
10 plus 5. Well, 10 out of 5. So 10 5 is 15.
Uh-oh.
5 out of 5 is
Here we
another
go.
10. So 25 is my math
25.
right?
Okay, let's see what's 25.
Is my math right?
25 is Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe from
Oh,
Genesis
no,
2006.
no. We're not. Sorry,
Oh
Shawn.
no!
Sorry, guys, but I'm not going above Kurt Angle.
Oh.
Okay, I could talk into it. Let me get my list up. So that's the wrong app.
So to me, okay, it's really easy to just say, okay, what's another, WrestleMania 10 match?
Yeah. Yeah.
And currently, the WrestleMania 10 Brett versus Owen match is number 7. Not only did it break the top 10, it is 7.
I don't know if I go above Brett and Owen.
Oh no, I don't think so either. I think
Hey now.
I think this is an incredible, monumental, all of these things. But I feel like this match does overshadow Brett and Owen for justifiable reasons. But is it a better match by comparison? It's arguable, and I would say no.
I think a lot of it has to do with, and this question is one that we ask on the show all the time, what do you come to wrestling for?
Mm-hmm.
Both are telling great stories.
Oh, incredible.
Both are really good stories. But one of them is a wrestling clinic. The other has good wrestling, but also is a gimmick match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's, I think we've sort of seen, and this is not always the case, because we do have gimmick matches in our top 10, but a lot of our gimmick matches tend to be on the second half of our list.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that's like indicative of gimmick matches. I think this is indicative of the matches that we have covered, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for somewhere that has sort of an intercontinental sort of showcase, but I'm not finding it. What I am
The
finding,
IC title, I can only think of like maybe 3 matches we've done that have been for the IC title.
Well, and another match that sort of pops into my head is not an IC match. It's a WrestleMania match, and for some reason, it reminds me of Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho from WrestleMania 19 in some ways.
With a ladder.
With a ladder.
With a ladder.
They have a ladder match.
They do
later
have a ladder
in,
match
in their
involved.
2008.
That match being at number 42. But I think where I'm most comfortable is around. So, Paul, ironically, 25 is not far off base for me. I'm looking up at around 23, 24, right between Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kota Ibushi from Wrestle Kingdom 9 and the AJW Wrestle Kingdom 2 match between Kong Nakano and or Nakano Kong and
Nakano
Kandorian
Kong.
Hokuto. I think it beats out the AJW Wrestling Kingdom tag just based on how influential it was for so many generations, and it built.
Well, now that I'm actually like staring at some of these numbers, I'm like, dude, I would like probably go at number 20.
Well, I don't know because I don't necessarily think that I would put it over Bayley and Sasha. I don't know that I would put it over Shinsuke and Kota from WrestleMania 9. I
So
feel
what I'm hearing is
comfortable right there
24?
at 24.
Starring Jack Bauer.
I've been watching that show. Not
really
gonna
good,
lie.
isn't
it?
I have been.
The
Yeah.
first season's amazing.
It is.
So I'm hearing the number I'm hearing is 24.
I'm feeling 24 right now.
Spencer, do you like the number 24?
It's a solid number. My personal
Do you
favorite
like
number.
Kiefer Sutherland?
My favorite personal number is 25. But
Oof.
that does not mean anything in the terms of this ranking. That's just my number.
Maybe it can.
It could be. It's not. I would go above Angle Joe at 25. I would go above the Queendom tag at 24. I would go above Nakamura Ibushi at 23.
Oh, 23.
I
23, 24, and 25.
I know you're getting hung up on NXT TakeOver.
You know I am. But I also think that that's not the best match Bayley and Sasha Banks ever have.
True.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going over it. I'm going over the TNA Fatal 4-Way. I'm going over TA Blanchard.
Wow.
I honestly, if I'm being super, super honest, I put this at number 16.
16?
I put it right below the Unbreakable 2005 Triple Threat match and right above Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay from New Beginnings.
So here's the thing about that. I can think of hundreds of reasons why I'd argue with that, but also fucking none, because I agree. I have no argument against it.
Paul, you're not helping me.
I don't have an argument.
Great. 2 out of 3. That's it.
Okay. Now, the middle ground there, of course, would be Paul's 20 that he mentioned.
20.
Right?
See, that's where I get caught up. Is I can give you a little bit in that. Okay, well, if we go up to 21, we're looking at the debut of the X Division and what kind of a legacy that has left.
With also Jerry Lynn.
And yeah, you know what? This one has a bigger legacy.
It does.
So let's let it jump to 20.
20.
But what Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard did at Starrcade 1985 is forever ingrained in my mind as just an iconic moment in wrestling. And so is this.
No!
So is this. But God, can I go over it?
It's hard.
It's hard. And it.
You know what else is hard, though? The piece of wood that Tully tried to stab Magnum with.
That's what I'm saying. So it really does come down to personal preference.
It 100% comes down to personal preference.
This is more spectacle than like Bloodbath, and I do like both.
How about rewatchability? Which one of these
Spectacle's gonna
matches
be
would
more
you go back and
rewatchable.
watch?
WrestleMania
first?
10,
10,
9 out of
yeah.
10 times.
9 out of 10 times.
Because as much as I do like Bloodbath, I like those kind of like personal like knockdown drag out brawls. Spectacle's always going to be so much more fun to watch.
Okay, so if we take spectacle out of it,
This is a more solid wrestling match.
but is it a more solid wrestling match than Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid? Is it a more solid wrestling match than John Cena and Shawn Michaels Raw?
Well, we're not talking about going above those.
We are, actually.
Spenser
I am.
is.
I said 16, which would be
So
above those.
what
Oh,
puts
I'm
it
sorry, I'm
over
looking at-
Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay? Sell it to me.
What puts it over that?
It's old enough to drink, and they're not. I'm just kidding. They are.
Now,
they're
I don't want to say that Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon are two of the legends of the game, because it is super arguable that Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay are two modern-day legends of the game, right? They're building their own legacy in a tremendous way right now, two of the best wrestlers in the world. What do you come to wrestling for?
Scott Hall.
Okay. To me,
I cannot hide I cannot separate that he was like my favorite wrestler when I was a kid, and it's still one of my favorites now. I can't divorce that from my what's the word I'm looking for here?
bias.
Thank you. I cannot divorce my bias.
You can have bias, but
I
justify it. So what makes Scott Hall your favorite wrestler?
He's so fucking cool. Like, at the end of the day, he's the coolest motherfucker in the history of wrestling.
Well, and he's
I
got the
welcome
one of the biggest hearts
he
we've
did.
ever seen.
He did.
For me, what puts it over the Sabre Jr. Ospreay match is here we are, 2022.
They don't throw a toothpick.
They don't. We are nearly 28 years later.
CSJ does come out with a toothpick sometimes.
We are nearly 28 years later, and this is still a match people go to as one of the reasons they started watching wrestling, one of the reasons why they wanted to be a wrestler, and every ladder match since then is inspired by this.
Yeah.
It does.
Every single one.
They try to pay homage to it somehow. Every single one I've ever seen.
Every single one. Now, Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay, absolutely a clinic. It's a wrestling fans wrestling match. It's wrestlers, right? But are we going to be talking about it 28 years from now? as a match that changed the game?
I don't think so. I would love to.
I think it's a fantastic argument. Let's put it at 16, and let's ask the listeners, hey, this is the last match of Season 4. Do you believe that it should be 16? We're going to send out a poll. I would absolutely love everybody listening right now, if you're listening before our finale is released, please let us know what you think. Where are any of these matches are ranked? Is it too high? Is it too low? And we're going to have a big old conversation looking at the data we get from you to decide if anything needs to change. And that's going to help me, I think.
Yeah, so what Landon's trying to say is this year, the last match standing season finale truly is all about the numbers. Because we're going to dissect them.
It's been an incredible season 4. I can't wait to really recap it all.
I am so excited.
And like Landon said, if you are interested, we want to hear your feedback. Let us know where you think you would rank this match. 16 out of 80 is high. I'm aware. Like, it's really high up there, and I talk all the time about being victims of the moment. And I'm trying not to be here.
We have a lot of really good reasons.
Lots of really good reasons. You let us know how you feel, you listener listening right now. We're going to be posting a Google Doc on our Twitter, on our Facebook, as soon as this episode is posted. So definitely, like, if you're listening to it, it's there for you. So go now. Let us know how you feel about our Season 4 rankings, about all of our rankings all together, and we will review that, relive it, and re-rank maybe come our Season 4 finale, which is our next main feed episode. Just a great, great season for us so far. 80 episodes in. Really hope you've been enjoying the ride as much as we have. But as a final bit here on our last episode, our last main match episode of Season 4, what a pleasure it's been to add Scott Hall to the list.
Yeah,
Absolutely honored to tell that story. And we've only covered half of his story, if that.
That's right. We only covered up to this match. Yep. There's obviously, the history-changing, the history-shaking moments that were still to come for Scott.
After this, I don't know. He's involved in this little thing called the NWO. I've never heard of it. I don't
no
think
one
it's
ever
a big
has.
deal.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So a really, really special way for us to end Season 4, and we can't wait to talk it all through on our Season 4 finale. Until then, I'm Spenser.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.